address the jury, please fill out a card. They're located in the back of the room, and give it to the administration. With that, I'd like to get Mr. Wood to lead us in a pledge. Mr. Kirk, you pray.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
First item up, we'd like to welcome Mr. Kevin, Mr. Kevin, Camera Communications, give the address to the jury.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Have some good news. We have been waiting for so long for the Army Corps of Engineer permit to get a new fiber, get a new duct for under the intercoastal. That permit was received. Contractor that we hired has completed the bore and pulled a new conduit under the intercoastal. Fiber, as of yesterday, was the splicing was completed on a new fiber getting to the island. While we were down there, though, bad side of it, downside, is that we found out that although we had done some temporary repairs after some utility companies planted power poles on our fiber, some debris, the debris removal guys had picked up one of our pedestals and ripped it out of the ground. So just on a side note, clean up, just that they can be careful. Look, we try to flag everything, we try to mark everything that we can, but just past the new fiber, a pedestal was pulled up. So we're going to have to replace about 500 feet of fiber. That process is going to start today. Our goal, we plan on having customers starting to turn up next week. The priority for the restoration is we have feeder fibers that feed our remotes, and then for the remotes, we feed customers. So the first step is to turn the network back on and see what comes up. If we have a cut, if the first remote doesn't come up, then we have to start working backwards to find a cut or something that happened. We're hopeful, fingers crossed, that we don't have too many of those and that we are able to get customers up as quickly as possible. We are making that area a priority. We understand that y'all have been without services since the storm. We appreciate your patience, and we are going to get you restored as quickly as possible now that we've gotten the issue with the court taken care of.
Great job. These people are really waiting on it.
We've heard from them. Just to give you an idea, we have taken almost 40,000 calls since the end of August. About almost 600 calls a day, where before the storm, our average call volume per day was about 7. So we've heard from, I think, virtually everybody. So again, we appreciate your patience. We understand now that commercial power is being restored to a large part or the rest of the parish, and so we're going to be coming back and also evaluating and restoring services to the rest of the parish.
what about all the, a lot of people in my neighborhood, they don't have it. They're getting billed every month. They don't have service. What are you going to do with all these people?
And what community is that in?
Sweet Lake.
Sweet, okay. That is one small area within a company that we have. I can't turn off that small area, but if you don't have service, you should be getting credited for that bill. And if not, if you could please let me know, I will take it back to make sure. But if you don't have service, you should not be being billed. We went for a couple of months without billing anybody. So
Pretty much all over the Grand Lake area.
okay,
They're getting bills,
okay,
high bills, and some of them making phone calls, but they're not getting answered.
okay. I will make sure and take that back.
I know I got mine. I got a bill and I got a past due.
There was a letter in it stating they were gonna credit,
Yes, sir.
but I don't see why y'all are even sending out bills.
We didn't send out bills for the first couple of months, and no one was billed. But in order to just get that process started for the areas that did have service restored, we had to turn and start billing for the entire company. But certainly, if you don't have service, that is something that we need to address, that we will take care of. And we will do the right thing. We have been trying to do the right thing ever since we started recovery efforts. So
the answer is, if you've been billed and you don't have service, contact
yes, sir.
Cameron Communications and explain to them that you haven't had service or whatever.
Yes.
In
And I
the
will,
process of contacting, you may get somebody in Oklahoma, Kansas, it's not a lot local.
I had good luck with it, because I had a couple of instances myself, and they credited. I mean, the next bill should be credited.
our support, we did outsource the support, but if you hit the option for customer service to speak to someone in our office, you will speak to someone in Parks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Kirby.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next item will be an update on Cameron Parish flood and surge protection. Mr. Mayor.
Hi, my name is Marvin Pittman. I'm with Mr. Maker and Associates. We were hired back in July to perform a study for the area south of the GIWW, west of Highway 27, east of Grand Lake, and north of Chenier Pardue Road. We have some pretty good results from the study. We're prepared to present those results in a detailed presentation today at 3 o'clock. Since the last time we met and presented to y'all, we have met with both of the major landowners in the area. We've met with CPRA, we've met with NRCS, and we've met with both gravity drainage districts, and we've got some comments that we'll have to incorporate into our final report. If any of you are available today for the 3 o'clock, I'd be happy to go through and answer all of your questions in detail. And at this time, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
I'll make them at 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
All right, next item will be insurance update.
Morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Wendy Harrington. I work for the parish. I'm doing the insurance for the municipality buildings in our parish. As of today, we have 40-something buildings with wind and flood claims for Laura. About 1.2 million on the flood, 3.8 on the wind, approximately 5 million that is either allocated for a building, total. So we have on wind claims, they're talking about 10 overall buildings lost. That does not include fire stations. We have several fire stations that will be considered total loss, but we're waiting on the final reports for those. If you have questions on certain buildings in your area, please get with me. I'll be happy to go over any of that with you. All our remediation are finished on all the buildings, all the remediation work. About $2 million worth of remediation work for water. We have all our buildings except for the jetty pier, and that's scheduled for next Friday, or they've all been seen by a flood adjuster, wind adjuster, as well as an structural engineer. And Mr. James and I are making our way around with multiple contractors to see all the buildings so that we can give estimates and bids on repairs. Most of the reports are in from the insurance companies, so we're using those to help do the adjustments or the estimates. And then if the estimate comes in higher than the report, then the insurance company has said that they will adjust that for us to help balance out the cost. Whatever's left over, we're making a list for LPWs. We've got an architect that we've scheduled, so we're working on each location individually.
At some point, I'd like to see a breakdown of all the buildings, how much money we received on that building, and how much money it's gonna cost to rebuild that building?
I have that.
It's all, you collect all the money,
Okay.
and if there's a PW, it's gonna be able to be put towards that.
Okay.
And kind of like in a spreadsheet or something, where we could actually go and maybe identify the districts
Okay.
where these buildings are, so that it will make it easier for the jury to identify what we're looking at
Yes,
and how much money we're gonna have to.
that's not a problem. I'll get that together for you. I have one
I
right
mean,
now.
it's not in a big hurry, I mean, next month, whatever.
Yes, sir. I have one right now that I can show you later on that give you kind of an estimate up to date, up to this day, but some of those are changing. We have probably 20 or so buildings that still need contents lists, still need invoicing for generators and other items, so we're still collecting all that stuff right now too.
Are you working with FEMA on right PWs?
Katie and I both are.
Katie, you are too?
Yes, sir.
That's on buildings and, contents and whatever,
Yes,
or
and
just the buildings,
for everything.
everything?
And actually, our consulting firm that's helping with that, they're here today. They were supposed to give you an update for item 7, but if you, Quez, if you want to come up and join Wendy and give the update since it's relevant to the question, I'll give you a better idea of parish-wide update, identified damage and estimated cost.
Currently, as of right now, we've identified parish-wide 149 individual PWs, which includes your emergency protective measures, your CAT-As, your water facilities, your contents, your buildings, anything like utilities. We've already identified a lot of it, and we're still ongoing identifying additional content, like Ms. Wendy just mentioned, from different contents of different buildings that we may have missed, so we're going back and recapturing those. But as of right now, we have identified 149 PWs, which totals about $42 million in damages for contents and utilities and debris removal and everything. Yes, sir. And what we're doing now is, based on those ones that we've identified, we're now gathering that documentation, that support documentation, along with the insurance, so we can submit to FEMA if we need to, so they can cover any additional cost that was not covered by insurance. That's what we're
Road and
doing.
bridge too?
Sir?
Road and bridge project?
Yes, sir, everything, roads and bridges, everything, yes, sir, we're covering all of that.
Very good.
I just have one question. We're probably going to work with them, we're working hard to get this done. But we want to identify anything that's falling through the cracks, anything that we're going to miss, anything that we're going to have to find alternative funding for. So if that shows up in that report, it would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir, definitely, definitely. And just another added note, the federal cost share is still at 75-25, but from what we're hearing from GOSEP, is they are pushing to get that to 90-10 cost share, but they're working on that. And my last conversation with them was 2 days ago. They're thinking between the middle of January, 1st of February, we should have that answer, saying it should be pushed to 90-10, but we don't know for sure just yet. But
Are y'all working on, getting a right of entry for, debris removal?
if I'm not mistaken, I think Katie is working with Rothstein on doing that. Yes, sir, that's correct.
That's a different, okay.
Yes, sir.
Because we got some large stumps throughout the whole parish that need,
Yes, sir.
landowners are just not gonna be able to remove these stumps. So
I think they put that request in a couple of weeks ago, wasn't that, Katie?
I see you're on this still on the agenda. Is there going to be more?
No, sir, this is covering everything that was on my agenda. Yes, sir.
And I wanted to add, if you talk to somebody in your area and they have concern about their building, have them call me. I talk to 30, 40 people a day. I'm happy to have a conversation with them and explain to them what's going on and where we are with that building.
Questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, next item, HMBP funding update.
Thank you, Mr. Sunny. I believe last police jury meeting, I announced that we were going to receive first round of hazard mitigation funding from GOSEP. And on December 2nd, we got the official notice. We're going to receive $5.6 million in federal funding. The application period is going to open today. We'll start working on our projects. I just need a little bit of direction from you guys on what type of projects you would want to pursue. Different types of eligible activities or either infrastructure, flood protection, prevention projects, or you could use it directed toward like elevation grants or mitigation reconstruction type grants. It's 5.6 million. We don't have to know the budget right now on how you would want to split it, if you want to direct all of it to residential type applicant funding programs, or if you want to do a combination of infrastructure and residential. I just need to know that, have your blessing that you do want to pursue residential hazard mitigation funding programs, because if you do, this would be the meeting that we can engage HGA, Quest, he works for Hunt and Kiosk. They would, we'd issue a notice to proceed, and they could start the intake application period as early as January, where we would do.
One question for this.
Mhm.
Could this be used for the cost share?
No,
Okay.
No, sir.
I didn't answer because the question came up with some of the guy. Are there any other restrictions other than what you listed on that? For the use of this money?
there are a lot of different tax programs that you could do. The three that I named are the most popular and probably what's best suited for Cameron Parish. We could explore all the different opportunities. Funding, we could probably match some hazard mitigation with some CDBG funding and with some, perhaps some FMA money. But the first step is to just acknowledge that you tell the staff and tell HCA that you are interested in pursuing any type of funding for elevation and reconstruction, because that's something that takes a little bit of time. You have to do an application outreach process. You have to get all the residents who are interested. We have to do environmental reviews on the property. We have to see if they qualify. We have to do cost benefit analysis. There's a lot of moving parts for that one particular program, whereas if you're doing just an infrastructure project, we're in control of that, of when we get the information and when we submit it. If we do a residential type program, then it only moves as fast as we can get the residents to submit applications and submit their information. So the sooner we start it, the better. We do have a tight deadline. We have to have everything submitted by June 28th.
Yeah, but when is it, how long can you hold on to that money? Well, let me ask you this. Can you use that money for dredging? Just to say we want to use some of that money to dredge like the intercoastal or something? They're shaking their head no.
No, it is just for hazard mitigation protection measures. They don't really have a lot of different activities that are eligible for hazard mitigation. The three that I mentioned are basically like the GIWW burn project that we just got an update on from Garvin. That would be a project that would qualify for funding. Now this is.
You can build a levee, but you can't dredge with the money. That don't make much sense to me. If you dredge, you don't have to build a levee.
We actually built it, and we built it on that.
That's right. So you're knocking two birds out with one stone.
I didn't write the hazard mitigation rules, Mr. Lee, I'm sorry. I wish I could change it for you.
I want to say this. We're going to build all these projects to stop the water instead of using the money to solve the problem, which is to dredge so you can hold the water lower. You don't need to protect the banks. You don't need to build the structures in the marsh to say you're going to save the marsh. If you lower the water level, you solve all those problems.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Lee, I just want to say this. The last time I think I was here, you mentioned the dredging. And I actually talked to one of my friends, the Corps engineers, and I told him I was coming back today, and I was going to give him a call and let you talk to him, because I think you asked some questions that you wanted to ask the Corps. And he's able to answer that question. He's also may be able to get some of those documentation that you asked for, that historical data. He may be able to get some of that for you to look at. So I do have that for you to after the meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, sir.
My thing is, we need to help our residents right now.
And
That's what we
Mr.
need
Lee,
help.
And that's gonna be a grant like to raise people's houses or something
yes,
like that? Like it was
and this
last
is
year?
just the first small amount of federal funding that we're gonna receive. This is just hazard mitigation funding. This is just round one. It's only 5.6 million. I say it's only because it took 6 million to elevate the 36 homes that we just finished elevating from Katrina Rita funds. So it's not a lot of money to do what you're probably wanting to do with the dredging. And I'm not saying that dredging projects don't qualify for funding, because there are other grant opportunities out there. It's just not an eligible activity under this particular funding cycle. The only things that you can do, and I'll read the 5 that were in the letter. It's property acquisition, structure elevation, mitigation, reconstruction of structures, flood reduction projects, retrofitting of existing buildings, safe room construction, and infrastructure retrofit. So it's very limited, the eligible activities for this particular one. But there are other funding sources, and that is something that Finstermaker is committed to helping us secure funding for, as well as now that Hunt Piot and Associates are on board, they're going to help us. So when we're looking at all these projects and we're identifying the needs of the community, just because this particular funding doesn't cover the need, doesn't mean we stop searching for a different funding source. We will continue to search for funding sources, apply for grants to do all the projects that we need. But just for this particular one, because it's such a tight deadline, it's due by June 28th. That's not a lot of time to do any type of hazard mitigation application. So we need a decision today, at least a blessing today. Let us reach out to the community, see who's interested, let them submit all their paperwork, give us time to sort through it, and then we'll come back to you in April, either a special meeting in late April or the May meeting, and we'll present how many people qualify for each particular program, and if there's any residual funds, then you can make a decision to direct that toward a different type of infrastructure project. We'll have lots of different programs that we're going to present to you, and you can vote on it then. But in order to start to engage a company, a firm, to do all the legwork for the residential, we need an answer today. For that.
You need any official action from us?
No, sir. They're already under contract. It would just be a notice to proceed for that particular task order. I just didn't want to do it without your blessing. I wanted to make sure that you were supportive of that.
Agreement, just move forward with what you stated. For the housing and assistance to the individuals.
Residential, we need to help them first.
But at next meeting, could you give us where you are? I know you're not going to be a long way from finish, but at least we'll have kind of an outline of exactly what you want to do, the different programs, so we can just kind of get a report on it.
Yes, we will update you every meeting about this, the milestones. And like I said, this is something that it's going to be your program. You're going to decide if it's going to be a combination of infrastructure projects and residential or all residential. By then, we'll also have an idea of if there's any disaster CDBG funds that are going to be allocated, how much that is, and if there's going to be a second round of hazard mitigation funds. So April would be that special meeting where we're going to talk about just this particular program.
And you have our blessing. Please move forward. All right. Anything else on that? Any questions? If we move on to number 6, debris removal update.
Okay, so debris removal, we are in our second pass for parish-wide operations. DOTD is here to answer questions about any state debris removal. I believe that they are in their final pass right now. I would invite Vicki if you want to give them your estimated debris pickup final pass dates. I'd appreciate it. Or, thank you. Just tell them like where you're at now with your expected final pass deadline, please.
Currently, we're expecting in Lower Cameron Parish, down along the coast, to finish our final pass by the end of this month. And then we'll work our way north up into Upper Cameron and planning to be finished done by the end of January. That's what we're looking at. Do you have any-
You do it the state? Or
Say again?
you state, pick up the state right away?
Yes, debris in the state.
Have you been through by the red light in Creole?
Yes,
I've got all that concrete and all that over there, it's still there, it's been there for months. I don't know if I'll pass there yet or not, but
if it's in the state right away, we can pick it up.
it's close to the road, if not, I can push it real close to the road.
Removal of concrete is a different pay item in our contract, so it gets removed by a different crew.
Okay.
What we've been concentrating on thus far has been vegetation and C&D construction and demolition debris, so wood and metal and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then also the thousands and thousands of feet of park grass.
questions. One having to do with commercial debris. We want to address that stuff for the sake of the public.
FEMA's program doesn't allow reimbursement for debris removal for commercial facilities. They are granting a limited exception. DOTD is not planning to pick up commercial debris. What we're exploring right now is to do a memorandum of understanding with the parish that will allow the parish to pick up the debris from the commercial facilities. And I think the Division Administration and DOSIP are working out a funding plan where they would put up a 20% match for the parish, and then FEMA would cover the remaining 80.
That's for commercial, but
Yeah, commercial.
The other question I get a lot is when the guys are picking up the trash, they're doing some damage on these personal right-of-ways or access to the state right-of-way, or are you going to come and repair that?
If you can have them contact me, I will get with the contractor and forward that to them. They've been pretty good about investigating those things and getting those things taken care of.
So we should be contacting you personally?
You could call our district switchboard in Lake Charles, and they'll transfer the call to me.
Okay. Could
Or you call me, Mr. Sonny, and I'll contact you.
Yeah.
you give us that number so that if the individuals want to call you directly, right?
Mhm.
If you want, then we can have that put in the paper so that people know about it. I mean, I'm sure it's on our website, but we can have it in the paper. So if you get that number to us, I appreciate it.
Want to do that now? Or, yeah, 337-437-9100.
What was your last name?
9100.
I know we talked before the meeting. Some of the, again, I'm Hackberry. You say commercial you're not picking up, and you're including churches as commercial.
Currently, yes.
And in front of the Catholic Church in Hackberry, which is, the right-of-way is approximately 50 feet off the roadway, okay? And they have piles of trash out there, and you're considering that as commercial, but actually it's individuals that are actually dumping there.
There's a whole other problem. Yeah,
It's not actually belonging to the church.
okay.
It's actually belonging to individuals that they don't have any other place to dump it. They're not gonna put it in the yard, they clean the yard. So
Right.
they're bringing that stuff and they're dumping it there.
We're starting to see a lot of that.
And there's some large items in there for church, and you can pass by and see it. It does not belong to the church, so, what can you do about that?
We can look into that. We haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I have a feeling that we're gonna end up having to pick up some of that stuff, whether we like it or not.
All right, like I said, we talked about it before, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
So the 80-20 deal, FEMA's gonna pick up the 80, or we picking up the 80?
FEMA should pick up the 80, and Division Administration and DOSIP,
It's gonna take up to 20 for the state commercial pickup?
right, should be funding the 20 that would have been the state share.
Not costing the parish nothing other than,
That's what I understand. Now, I'm not involved in all those negotiations. I just know that they're in progress.
Any other questions?
Oh, we still have some parish-wide updates, but if you're finished with state, then you go, Vicki. Thank you.
If you have any other questions, get with Katie. She's got my cell phone number and my email, and even trading some messages.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Vicki. So as it pertains to just the parish-wide, parish road debris pickup, we're finishing our second pass right now. We asked the jury that we suspend operations for 30 days after close of business tomorrow. Give the residents the opportunity to, over the holidays, take care of their debris, get it to the road, and allow the parish staff and the monitors to assess what's still out there and make projections on what the third and final pass is going to be. Right now, where we are at, let's see, $17.5 million parish-wide of debris removal. That's just off of the parish roads. That's not inclusive of what DOTD has picked up. That is triple of what it was for Hurricane Rita and Ida. So on this 30-day hiatus, we'll process invoices. Hopefully by the end of the year, GoSip will give us direction on which 30 days are gonna be funded at 100%. We did request that the 30 days be extended to 45 days. That decision hasn't been made yet, but at the very least, 30 days of that will be funded at 100%, and the rest of the days will have a 25% share. So right now, the estimated third and final pass is 250,000 cubic yards remaining. It's probably safe to say we could probably double that. After 30 days of people knowing that it's the final pass, they'll probably start getting their debris to the road. But 250,000 cubic yards is going to yield about an additional $6 million toward debris removal.
Does that include the marsh grass?
Yes.
Why are we spending the money to pick up marsh grass in the ground?
They are just picking it up what's off on the right of way. They're not cleaning anything that's in the burns or in the marsh, but anything that was on the road, that they had to push it to the side of the road, it was piled up about, some places 4, 5, 6 feet. That's the part that's getting hauled off. Now, we are getting into some issues right now, parish-wide, and DOTD has seen the same thing. People are doing improvements to their property, and that's ineligible. And so that's something that we're gonna try and put through social media and on our website, and hopefully Miss Cindy can put it in the paper that the only debris that's eligible to be picked up is storm-generated debris. So what is ineligible is if after you get all your storm-generated debris picked up and then you decide you wanna go clear your property and clear all your trees out, or if you have 30 acres of marsh and you want to go clear all the marsh grass out that's been there for years, and you push that to the road, the monitor is going to deem that ineligible. So you risk, if you're a resident and you're doing that, you're risking all that debris still sitting there after the close of both the programs, because it's going to be deemed ineligible. These monitors went through in the early days and photographed everything before the debris removal pickup started. They photograph every day. Every time a truck is there, they take a picture. It's time-stamped. It has latitude and longitude on it. So they have all the proof they need that you're clearing your property and doing improvements instead of pushing storm-generated debris out there. So it's going to sit there. We've had a case of that happen already. They have a few different properties already identified that's going to be ineligible. So as the residents call and complain about their debris still being there, we'll have to get with our monitor, and if they're one of those properties, then they're responsible for hauling it off and paying the landfill, the tipping fee. So it's something that we need to make sure our residents are aware of, because our monitors are aware of it.
Where we at with the stumps and right entry that we talked earlier?
That's something that we have a draft application. It has not been submitted to GoSip yet. That's a different program. That's that private property debris removal. And after the first of the year, once we start the third and final pass, which will start January 11th, every community will start January 11th, and they'll bring all their trucks in. They'll slowly ramp up to what they are right now. And once they do their final pass, and we know what those numbers are, and if they're consistent with the projections, which are the 250,000, at that time, then we'll have a meeting with you guys, and we'll have the breakdown of exactly what just our right-of-way debris removal costs the parish. And then we'll look at our finances and see how much cash flow we have, if we can even afford it. There's a chance we might not be able to afford it this year. We might have to wait 2 years later until we get a little bit better cash flow in, and we get some of our FEMA PW, because right now we're bleeding our books. Everything that we're spending right now, we won't get reimbursed from FEMA until probably next summer.
So you saying FEMA will not help on private property?
They will. They do. There is a cost share just like regular. But like I said, we're out. Kayla has the books, but we've already expended over $5 million out of our general fund on disaster recovery efforts. That we're not going to see the reimbursement for that 25% until after the first of the year. So we're going to have to do a lot of this debris removal in different segments. We might have to wait a few months, let some tax money come in, get some reimbursement, and then start the program.
That's perfectly fine. I know we gotta understand we gotta pay for it.
Right.
Because they'll pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not, I guess, could you streets and asks how many is out there? Or did somebody already make a determination?
No, there's no determinations made. That would be the first step, for us to ask for people to submit pictures and applications saying that, number one, they don't have the means to remove it, they didn't receive insurance money, or if they did receive insurance money, it was too little to pay for the full amount, because FEMA will cover the difference. We could definitely open that application period up in January as well.
You saying after, they need to be open afterwards? Identify.
Yeah.
So now we're telling if somebody's got a stump, push it to the right way, they'll figure it.
Right now, yes. We will start the third and final pass again on January 11th. So everyone, it's 30 days for the public to get everything to the road. So assume if your stuff's not out there January 11th, it's not getting picked up. Now, the trucks might not make it to you till January 15th. I don't know, but you don't want to be the one that it ran through your area on January 11th and you push something to the road on January 15th and then it's going to sit there.
How many trucks they got working right now for the next 2 days?
For the next 2 days, Shane, do you know that number?
Eight on the north end. I mean, I got it all.
Yeah, they need about 40
They're slowly ramping down today and tomorrow.
to make that difference up.
Yeah.
Couple quick questions on the private property. If I'm not mistaken, last time we had the tree removal, we had a portion between the second and third where they were allowed to go in and sign a light of entry and go and tear down structures for the people. Are we gonna do that this time?
That's a decision yet to be made by you guys. We'll do that after the first of the year when we have a pretty good grasp on how much we're fiscally responsible just for the right of way. And we can present the numbers, we'll see where we are cash flow, we'll present it to you guys, and if you feel like you want to dedicate any, because you're going to have to pay for 25% of it, so if you feel like that you want to allocate funds for that instead of toward a different improvement project, then that'll be up for a vote by you guys.
One of the things that we have to remember is that I don't think we can force the people to clean it. So if we don't get it clean, then we got to live with it. And comes into my second question, has to do with the debris fields that are scattered out, but in close proximity to the main arteries coming in and out of the parish. I know that FEMA doesn't want to fund that, but we need to find some alternative funding or some way to get that cleaned up, because that's going to send a bad message to everybody about our community and our parish. So we really need to try to get some program going to get that debris cleaned up.
Something like Delta 10 and all that.
But like the school board office and the Y, I mean, that they're calling it. There's a big debris field, that's gonna be there, it's gonna remind us, and it's gonna be an eyesore forever if we don't get it cleaned up. Because I don't see the individuals cleaning it.
Right, I mean, there are different options. We have, the two contractors that we have right now, our monitoring firm and our debris removal firm, they're on contract on standby for the next 2 years. So we have that resource, or if we feel like we have the staff and the equipment that we could utilize, we could actually use force account labor and equipment and do our own debris removal. And then, we would be paying a share of our own employees to haul it off, and then we would only have to cover the cost of the tipping fee, the landfill fee. So it might be a little bit cheaper option.
A lot of people have it thrown out, they haven't heard anything from insurance. So, they're lazy, and they're gonna miss the third pass. So if we don't come up with a plan to handle that, we're gonna eat that or have to live with it.
Absolutely. But we can't keep this particular program going very much longer. You're supposed to have everything picked up within 90 days anyways. So we did put in a request with FEMA for an extension to pick up commercial debris through February. It hasn't been approved yet, but right now, technically, any commercial debris is not to be picked up after December 30th.
We need to also maybe get with the people with the state and put newsletters out, maybe flyers out in different communities, letting them know, look, at this date, we're gonna be starting a final pass. And after this date, if they come in and clean your area up, if you push something out to the state right away or the parish right away, it's not gonna get picked up. So there needs to be more outreach to the public to let them know. think if you give them the opportunity to know in advance, then they really can't come back and say, well, I didn't know. We need to let
Absolutely.
them know the best we can. I don't do Facebook and all that.
We're gonna reach out to KPLC and make sure that maybe they include the notice in their bottom line on the news in the morning. And, we're gonna make sure we do an ad every week in the Cameron Pilot. We could even put some in the American Press. But you're absolutely right, we're gonna double down on our PR firm and our outreach to make sure everyone's fully aware.
It's important that the people know, and if they all know, then there's no,
Yes, sir?
no excuse.
I don't know why we couldn't go around every little community with a town hall meeting about all this too.
Oh, yeah,
If they show up, I mean, at least the word gets out, if 10 people show up, they gotta get the word out.
okay.
So Katie, our last day is gonna be we're gonna start back up on the 11th, and our last day is gonna be the 31st of January.
That's what it's looking like right now. We'll have, for sure, we're ready to advertise January 11th is the start date. After the next few weeks, as we're evaluating the cubic yards and stuff, then once we know what that estimated is, they know how many cubic yards they can push a day. Just averaging about 10 to 12,000 a day. So based off of that, we'll have a target end date.
Any other questions?
I got one more on the private roads. Are we concentrating on the residents and not the RV parks or the trailer parks? Or we
Yes.
gotta pick up the residents first before we haul in a bunch of trailer parks?
Yes, we have
Cut
been.
back on the, take care of residents?
Yes, sir. We've actually had a few, Shane's been working with each resident that calls that's on a private road. If they're deemed that they're ineligible because the monitoring firm thinks that their debris is ineligible, then we contact Shane. Shane goes on site with the monitoring firm. They discuss the options, and he's been really good about convincing them that, sometimes with the right-of-way is only 15 feet, and the ditch and the canal takes up all of that, so they couldn't put it to their private road, so they had to push it a little bit further down the road for a truck to get in and out. So once they bring the monitor over there and Shane explains it and the monitor understands, then they usually sign off on it and say that it's an eligible activity. But Shane's been working all over the parish with every resident that's called, complaining that the state, either the monitoring firm said that it was ineligible or it just hasn't been picked up. He's been on site the next day.
Okay.
Good job.
Anything else? You done, Ted?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. I think I have a couple of people want to address the jury having to do with debris removal. We'll start with Mr. King. Jared?
He's my consultant that got a bunch of permits for me. I was gonna say a few things, and I just got.
Want all three of them, I think you, Linda, and him, come up to the mic and talk to us. I'm glad you're here to say.
I had a bunch of questions, but it seems like you guys had pretty much a lot of the similar questions, and a lot of stuff has been answered for me, but one thing I want to point out is like, she talked about how some of this debris is ineligible. If it's trees, I get that, or if it's stuff coming out the marsh, I get that too, but like one place in particular in Grand Chenier, the Miller family paid us to go push a bunch of stuff out of around that home place up to the road, and I mean, it's a bunch of stuff. And this was all marsh grass that was in their pastures adjacent to their house. And the monitors were shutting us down, saying, look, well, they shut us down a month ago. Said, can't pick it up, it's ineligible. So, I mean, there's some gray area here, and I'm confused about what the definition of, they're kind of telling us if it's not right in front of the house, they can't pick it up. But I mean, I see how that rule would apply in cities and more populated areas. But down in Grand Chenier, I mean, some of us have, most homes are on 10, 20 acres or something like that. And I mean, do I need to tell these people, hey, you can't push anything out of your pasture to the road? It's not going to be eligible. Because I don't know what I'm doing with the Miller stuff now. So I mean, I'm going to have to pay to move it, I guess.
Is it on the state right away?
Yes, sir. It's on 82 in Grand Chenier. The big home place all the way to the end of Grand Chenier.
People here, good.
I mean, the debris field is drifted up and it's all on the ridge by that
I know the state, originally first started picking up debris, that was the first thing they asked, was vegetative. So, it can be picked up. I mean, I don't understand what the issue is.
Well, I don't either. I mean, so I thought if it was on your property and you pushed it to the road, it would get picked up. And I mean, we've got a pile of stuff up there now. And about a month ago, they shut us down. The mom came to not, it's not in front of the house. So.
Yeah, she needs to answer that.
Do we know answer that?
It has to do with undeveloped property. FEMA won't reimburse for debris removal for debris that's coming from undeveloped property. And so that's where the in front of the house came from. The in front of the house, we could pick that up because somebody lives there. But for the rest of the property,
I don't understand that because on Highway 27 between Outreach and Blackberry, they were picking up vegetative debris, and I was saying, why are they picking that up? So like, you guys, why would they burn it? But they were picking it up, so why could they do it then, and they can't do it now? And there's no homes, no homes.
well, that's what was deposited in the right of way by the storm, and so we were able to pick up what was in the right of way.
Is that not in the right of way?
No, they were
They would do it.
pushing it to the right of way.
I mean, I thought it was clear, I thought the rules were clear on that. You know, if it was on the property, you brought it to the right of way, it would be picked up. So I just want you guys to know what's going on. I mean, there's a pile of stuff left out there that is just gonna be, you know, left in the lot next door to someone's house.
Do we have somebody who's famous that can answer that? Somebody who's
Anybody here in the back?
We have people from FEMA here to speak on direct housing issues. We can take that question back on debris removal. So we'll take note of that and we'll get back to Katie through our normal lines of communication.
Okay.
So, I mean, my question still is, I need someone to help us with the definition of, so what I'm hearing is the only thing that can be picked up is right in front of the house?
Correct. We can't pick up from an undeveloped property.
So is that undeveloped half acre, 3 acres? My house is,
Like the
my house is sitting
Or
on 3
quarter of
acres.
an acre, yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah, like, so the home I'm talking about in Grand Chenier, that family owns 100,000 acres right there.
Yeah, I believe you, it's a big piece of property.
So, I mean,
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, we'll have to take a look at this. This is, we're looking at an agricultural type of question with debris. There may be funds from USDA, Department of Agriculture, grant funding for some support of this. I don't know. And so we'll have to take this question, FEMA will have to take this question back, and we'll follow up with Ms. Katie through our normal lines of communication, the Office of Emergency Management. And if you can contact her, we'll get some of this information. We'll have a subject matter expert address it and give you, the police jury, and the general public the best guidance we can on this.
And the reason I use it, one thing I want to bring out is, I see people dumping on the state right away. Instead of putting it in front of their house, they didn't want to have it there in their line, so they moved it somewhere else.
that's
Not in
exactly,
front of a house, so how do we?
that's exactly what we did. He didn't want anything around the house.
So I guess we know a lot of that. Yeah, I do too. Does that mean we have to eat all that?
Yeah, so, normal homes and property, residential homes, maybe it's on an acre, a third of an acre, and half an acre, and so whatever debris is there from the storm pushed forward, yes, to the right of way. But when we're talking about tracts of land, 5, 6, 10, 12, or maybe 100 acres of land, that's a different, it's a different program, it's a different formula, and under standard program is not eligible. So I'm not a subject matter expert on that. As I said, I'm willing to take this question back, and we'll find the correct answer and what the parameters are and what may qualify and not. And I would defer to the debris monitors if they're looking at it and they are conforming to the FEMA regulations. If they say under the present understanding that it doesn't conform, they can't pick it up, then that's the case right now until we can define clearer.
So even if we were to start cleaning up the debris fields and get it to the right of ways, they couldn't pick it up. Is that what they're telling them? Make us feel here. Yeah, we're gonna have an answer. We'll have an answer by next meeting.
What happened at Rita, for Rita? That didn't, maybe it was
I
somewhere
guess
else?
maybe it wasn't such a big deal for Rita because there were so many homes, you know? And now there's so few homes, but you still have this debris like on, you know, so-and-so's property in Grand Chenier. They don't live there anymore, but they got a bunch of junk piled up in their pasture that they might use for cattle or for whatever. And, you know, that's the
A
stuff.
lot of stuff too got washed toward that intercoastal one,
Yeah, you're right. Like I've been picking up the caskets, you know, and for Rita and Ike, everything was along there.
It's
And
not,
it seems like this storm, we just have much more debris on the ridges
right,
further south. I just really wanted y'all to be aware of what was going on.
yes.
Okay,
Y'all, you know. So the next thing that I wanted to bring up, that I wanted to bring everybody's attention, is, you know, we haven't had any issue with from my understanding, the state people, they're picking up the debris and they're bringing it to whatever dump site they're closest to, which makes perfect sense to me. With the Parish people, and I told them specifically I was gonna be here today in front of all of y'all to discuss this.
I don't see them here.
Yeah, I don't either. So we've got one group, we've got some local guys hauling. I don't have any issues with those guys at all. They go to whatever site is closest. But there's one contractor, I think it's WAC or WHC, something like that. They're picking up all the stuff in Little Chenier and Chenier, Purdue. And they're driving an extra 17 and a half miles to bring it to Granite instead of Grand Chenier. And, you know, when I mean, we've all spent a bunch of money setting up these sites. You know, I spent 75 grand on limestone. Got, you know, my equipment bill is probably a couple $100,000 by now. And I've been hauling about 15,000 yards of debris from the parish. And, you know, I had to look at all this and make a business plan when I opened this dump site. And, I mean, it made sense to me to think that the stuff closest to me was going to come to me. And I don't know, I'm not saying that anything, I just want to bring it to y'all's attention.
Is there a price difference?
Exact same price.
But there is a price difference on hauling it.
And listen, to be precise,
It'd be cheaper to go you.
the Chenier, if you leave from Miriam Fire Station, that would be all the stuff from Chenier, Purdue, it's 12 miles to go to my place. It's 20.7 miles to go to Danny's in Grand Lake. That's a difference of 17 and a half miles per trip.
Why would they haul it there?
I don't know, and I've asked Shane, and he tells me he can't, you know, he can't answer any of these questions, and he's not involved with telling them where they go, and that's
Well,
fine,
we
so I
gotta
go,
pay for the bill.
yeah, that's why I'm here. So I go to Siri, their representative, and she tells me the same thing, I can't tell them where to go. And this contractor's never been on my site, like, not one time, so I don't know, it just doesn't pass the smell test. And, you know, I wanna make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on. Okay?
Yeah, so the way their contract is, there's different tiers, there's 5 to 10 miles, 10 to 15 miles, and then 15 and over is the same price. So there's no difference in haul fees if you have 15.1 miles versus 35 miles. Anything in excess of 30 is billed at the same rate as the 15 to 30. So if it falls within that, it really doesn't make a difference to the parish. We're not telling them, we just tell them to haul, you know, what's close proximity and what's cheapest. But some of these contractors, they come in and they get paid, you know, they want to haul, they get paid per cubic yard, so it makes more sense for them to haul, you know, 5, 6, 7 truckloads instead of 3. And from what they're telling me is, and there's a lot of utility work, there's other debris trucks on the road, and they're closing down one lanes, and there's traffic jams. So if there's a crew working in a particular area and they have the traffic closed to one lane, then even though mileage-wise, it's closer to go to one site, but minute-wise, it's closer for them to go the additional 5 or 6 miles to the other side. And that's kind of what they're basing their decision off. That's what I'm being told by the contractors. But it's not police jury. We cannot direct series to use one landfill over the other. If they're all permitted and they all charge the same price, then that's where it is. And the contractor can choose to do business with whoever they choose.
Okay. Patrick is, if I'm right, Patrick is, his site uses beneficial spoil to rebuild the bridges over there. So he's he's covering all these ponds up over there to reclaim the ridges. So it's closer, plus it's reclaiming the ridge. So that stuff needs to be going to his place.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the parish can't tell them what to do, they work for y'all. They, you know, and I would at least have, you know, I just don't get it.
One thing.
I mean, it's almost 20 miles further per trip, so if each truck's making 5 trips a day, you're talking about 100 miles more. I mean, it's just, look, something's.
One thing that does come to mind, even though the trip charge is the same, it dragging on, okay? And I know in the end, we may have to agree this not picked up once we get to this, to January 31st, and we have to figure out what to do with it, because it's taking so long to get it. If they can save, make extra 2 trips a day, just because it's shorter, then they need to pay attention to that, because it's gonna cost us in the end. They're just making money, we're paying.
But legally, can we tell them where to go?
No, sir. We can, and, I mean, I'll let the DA, if they're here, speak on that, but the contractor is in it to make the haul as many loads a day as possible. And if they can get more loads hauling further because the travel time is shorter, mainly based off of traffic and stuff, than hauling somewhere that may be close, it's the same price for them. If it's 15 miles, 20 miles, they're gonna go where the quickest is that particular day. And the fact that you've received 15 to 19,000 cubic yards means there are some days where it is quicker to go to yours. And if it's only one particular contractor, but that's something we don't get into the daily operations. We hire a monitoring firm and a contractor for that reason, so they're in it to do the cheapest option possible. And that's their direction.
Drive an extra 20 miles.
It might not be an extra 20 miles though, that particular day. I mean, if you're a maybe, but.
It's absolutely 17.4 miles further at a minimum, And that's the minimum distance they're driving further. In some instances, it's more than that.
Are they leaving these pre-owned in the back there, or they going to pre-owned and cutting the state highway? They got that load limit bridge back there.
Right, they're,
Well, they're
That's
doing,
supposed to be on it.
yeah, they're doing it with 1 ton.
and they've been
Bridge is
closing.
posted at 15 tons, which is 30,000 pounds, so,
The bridge is about 40,000 pounds in their trailers.
well, not in 1 ton. No, not in 1
They've been weighing them out.
It's not that.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean, I don't think there's,
Where they've been weighing.
When they unload them, they got scales on there, when they unload them.
I mean,
And the point-
we beating the dead dog here.
We are.
We can't tell them what to do.
and the other landfill came on quicker. They had their C&D and everything permit before anyone else, and I'm so.
That's not true.
Okay,
So,
I don't have a bar number like Patrick, but I stayed at Holiday Inn Express.
okay,
There were 3 sites that were pre-permitted stage debris on. So immediately after a storm, when we do that, every couple of years they renew that. They should have been, and there's new staff and everything, so people don't really understand that. So they should have been permitted for disposal sites, which would save us a whole lot of time. Initially,
Mr. Wendell, you can't do it like that until an emergency is declared. That's why
Right,
they were
right,
not
okay,
set up for
that's
disposal
fine.
sites beforehand.
but we could, okay, I'm glad you clarified. But we could stage the other site, which I have nothing against, other than the fact that within 2 or 3 days when Siri showed up, I called Patricia DeVille and asked her about the sites, camera sites for Merrill, Wilkerson, Abear, and also told her that I was applying for a site on 384, and she said, we've already cut a deal with a landowner there, and he's already started to move material in there and put in mats. So number one, somebody that's never done it before, how were they aware of that guy and already cut a deal with him within 2 days of them showing up to town, number one, and then number two, nitpicking us to death and having some attorney on Horseshoe Road in Baton Rouge calling us every freaking day with another block that we had to freaking check, box that we had to check in order to get our debris in there when they could have immediately started staging on us. We needed no permits whatsoever. The site in Grand Lake, this is a core permit that they got issued. It's an emergency issue. They still have to go back and get a permanent issue, which means they're going to have to do a wetlands determination There's a lot of things they have to do. The site on 384, to get the final disposal permit, we had to put a 9-foot levee around it. So around that whole site, that's gonna have to be done. They're nowhere close, as far as I can tell. And you can look on the DEQ website, pull up their AI number, and see all the documents they've submitted. This one's on there, that's where I got it. So, that site, very possibly, may be turned down by the Corps for a final permit. And this permit says it has to be remediated back to the original condition. So my point is, all the stuff that came from Lower Cameron Parish, and I don't care about it there, because once she told me that, I told her that's fine. You know, they got it, they got it. The stuff in Lower Cameron Parish should have stayed there. And I agree, there are some times where there are pylons they're working on or whatever else, but I've got one, I do this for a living. 40, since 1980. I've supported this community, I've paid taxes, I employ people, Patrick employs people, Howard Romero employs people. We all three have done 2 storms already. We know what we're doing. And the contractor, for some reason or another, I don't know why, but it's awful suspicious that within 2 days, they had the info to be able to do what they did, and then nitpick us and tell us we don't have an EUA for Delta, so we can't haul to you, which it was verbally given. And then they also, they sent the EUA out, I signed it, turned it back, it goes to their attorney, they kick it back because that, what office is that, coastal management? They didn't sign it. Then they accused us of possibly forging it.
We could never, it would take way too much time to explain everything that's happening.
I mean, we can go on and on and all day.
Window, do y'all dump here in Cameron
My
too?
point is.
Do what?
Do y'all dump site here in Cameron?
Yes, we have a dump site, and it was permitted.
They were picking up at my house, and I live closer to you than anybody.
Pre-permitted, so y'all took, so the parish can say until they have all their permits, because that's what Ceres did to us. They just started hauling to us, and they still load some trucks and bring them to us, and come right by us out of Cameron and go up there. So I know there's no high lines between here and there that would stop them from doing
I
that.
just want to clarify what the staff did, and I mean, I can assure you that there's nothing malicious going on
We're not
with the staff,
accusing you of
because
that.
we are fair everywhere. But let me tell you how it happened. All we're worried about is saving money. We actually did haul to Calcasieu Parish for 2 weeks, because it was cheaper to haul to Calcasieu Parish than to haul to your sites, because y'all want to charge triple of what
That's
Calcasieu is.
that's BS.
No, so
That's
we
BS.
hauled
You
for
got
2
that
weeks.
information from the contractor, that's a lie.
Okay, well, so did you not have a meeting and want to charge $15 a cubic yard when
Absolutely not,
$8.50
absolutely
is
not. I'm
what?
glad you brought it up and opened the door so I can let them all hear.
Did you sign the contract though?
Hang tight, I'm gonna tell you. When all this first started, I went up there and I said, look, listen, I was the only one out of everybody. I had my profit and loss statements from the other 2 storms. I knew exactly what it was gonna cost to Parish. It was about $7.50, between $7.50 and $8 a yard is what it was gonna cost at the end of the day. I had my profit and loss statements there, gave them a price. I said, you know, I feel like the number ought to be $12, you know, because we got a lot of exposure. I mean, I just thought that was a fair number. You ought to make it 25% if you're gonna go invest $500,000 on some project. So we hit them at 12. The guy tells us, you know, that's within range. It's usually $8 to $12, somewhere in there. We gotta get it approved, from FEMA, but we'll let you know.
And he also said the difference in additional trucking was gonna make it exactly that.
And the dump sites in Lake Charles are cheaper. They're like, what are they, $7.50 or something like that?
I think for the storm debris, they're more.
So anyway, but those are, that's apples and oranges. Those guys take in 1 million yards a year, so they can you know, amortize these costs over a 10 or 15-year period, where we gotta come in, open the site, take the debris, and then shut it down within 6 months or a year. So our costs of operation are higher. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. And, you know, so anyway, we ended up signing a contract with them for $8.50 a yard. Okay, so that's where we're all at. Everybody's the same, $8.50 a yard. And, you know, we could go on for hours about what's happened and why we think this is wrong, but it's really kind of irrelevant at this point. The point I'm trying to make is that, look, we're all open. We have all our permits. were totally legit, and they're hauling it 20 miles further to go somewhere else.
To a permitted,
Okay,
to a site
back
that-
to my
to a
question.
site that's not completed permitted yet and very likely may not ever be permitted.
Get back to
And-
my
and
question.
somebody's gonna have to pick it up or remove it. Who's gonna pick up the cost?
Your site.
No, but they work for you, and you can ask them, hey, what's going on?
Okay, we're gonna ask that question, but can we legally say, hey, we don't want you to haul this guy, we want you to haul the stuff to Lord Cameron, to Wendell, Patrick, and Howard Romero, whoever.
Joe.
I wanna be legal, I
Yeah.
wanna do it right,
I
and I
just-
wanna give you business.
I just really wanted to bring it y'all's attention, so.
Okay, yeah, I've been discussing this with Wendell for last 2 months, trying to get them to haul the stuff down there. You know, what we gotta do to get it down there? You know, to keep it down here. The stuff in Cameron, Creel, Grand Junior, keep it down in this area. The stuff up in Big Lake, Grand Lake, keep it up there in that area. You know, what we gotta do? I mean, for a fight with Katie and all that.
Yeah,
we
at
need
the
to-
end of the day, it's important to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So that's the direction we gave our contractor, was we don't care where you haul it, make sure that it is the cheapest that you can get it for us, because we have to take taxpayer dollars and pay 25%. And that's the only direction they've been given. Now, what they've done with that direction, we are already at 17.5 million. Now, the timing of when permits were approved and not approved, you know, you're right, y'all were permitted, pre-permitted DMS sites, but you weren't permitted after the disaster, and it's not our fault that DNR and DEQ required all these other permits, but you should have had a head start. I mean, you had 15 years to do your after-the-fact permit from Rita and Ike. So you should have had a head start, and you didn't permit like you were supposed to after Rita Ike. We still didn't even start operations in Lower Cameron until months later, and only focused on Hackberry and Grand Lake, getting that out, which was the same cost as if we would have kept it in the parish, to give you guys time to get permitted. So when we had operations, everyone was on board, every community, and it was the cheapest for the parish. But you can only wait so long for people to get their permits. People were calling, they're complaining, they're frustrated, they want their debris picked up. So we made the call to haul the cheapest, whatever's open, and when the other ones come on site, then you can haul to them. You just came on site, both of you guys. So some of these contractors are probably still hauling where they've always hauled, because they've been hauling there for 3-4 weeks. And you just now came online.
We did not
They have the
just come
option
on.
to
We
do
have
that.
been as a staging area. The site in Upper Cameron Parish is still a staging area. They have not done it. They do not have a burial permit.
Okay.
I think they're months and months and months away from even possibly getting one. They may possibly not. We have been permitted since day one for staging.
For staging, yes, but not for final disposal.
They're staging up there and don't have a final disposal. We're permitted for final disposal on both sides, all 4 sites now.
We're going a lot at it. The bottom line is, my site, Wendell site, and Howard site are permitted to bury. The one in Grand Lake is not. So I'm throwing that out there. And the second thing is, the whole point, no, he's not burying, he's just staging it. He's legal with what he's doing. But I'm just pointing that out. We do have burial permits, he does not. The second thing is, going off of Katie's comments, it is costing the parish more. Maybe not a significant more, but there's several areas they picked up where they went over 20 miles to go up there, where they could have brought it to us, and it would have been at a different rate, a cheaper rate.
So we're going to audit those tickets, and if it is, they just have to eat that.
Right, well, and then they are hauling you, because the last report that I received, Wendell, you received 36,000 cubic yards, and Patrick, you received 19,000 cubic yards.
That sounds right.
So, I mean, they have started hauling what's closest and what's in proximity.
Not all of it.
And
Let's do this,
So,
they're getting ready to take a break to 11.
yes, they
We're
are.
gonna be on a 30-day break.
Mhm.
Let's get our heads together, get with the DA, Katie, you guys, and let's see what we can do to get them to haul. There's some kind of rule that we can say, hey, look, we want y'all to haul everything south and intercoastal to these guys, and north up to whoever's doing it in Grand Lake area. You know, we're gonna be on a break here, nobody's gonna be hauling nothing here for 30 days.
If they understand that they're closer, I would imagine, and maybe they don't know. I don't
Yeah, maybe we need.
Well, no, they
I mean,
didn't.
well, I'm just saying, Wendell, we need to talk to them.
I'm gonna make a couple of quick comments. Number one, as a contractor, I've been a contractor for 40 years. If I have a customer ask me to do something that costs me the same amount of money, I'm gonna do it. Number one. Number two, you talk about cost. When you're talking about 17 miles a trip more, and those guys are making 5 trips a day, and they got 10 trucks working, and you multiply that by the number of days that, one of the things that we look at on every job we look at is liability and our exposure. And exposure, you talk about cost, what happens if one truck in this disposal thing runs over and kills a Cameron Parish resident, or anybody for that matter? And all that exposure adds up on every trip that they haul further. So there is a cost involved with it that you may never pay. But if we do with somebody's life, and it may be a family member of yours, every job we look at exposure, routes we take, highlights, there's a whole bunch of things that we look at because we don't want to see anybody hurt. And every time we raise our exposure is a more of a chance that we're going to hurt or kill somebody. And when in the trucking business and in the heavy equipment business, we're in businesses where people get hurt seriously and even killed. And we try to lower that the best we can. So there is a cost involved.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's work what I said. Let's get a meeting set up with the DA, you and you guys. Let's see if we can tell them where to go. You know, there got to be some kind of rule that we can. You know, the public business is different than your business. I mean, you can tell, like you said, you can tell that guy that we can't do that.
How many page contract do they have?
It's a little different than
roughly, with their contract, they have about a 200-page contract?
With us?
Okay. On the environmental side with the DEQ and all the agencies we had to do, including get something from the historical society and the just everybody under the sun, we had to get a box checked off of. They, every day, we called it the problem of the day. I had to call Jerry and say, this is our problem of the day, because every day they came up with something else we needed. All you need to do is get this. We get that the next day, and they jump through hoops to get it, trust me. Bam, here's another one. So the point is, with a 200-page contract, if we want to nitpick them, I guarantee we can tear them a new, if we want to. And we don't want to do that. We just want the parish cleaned up. But this right here, you got to realize, the last drones we had were 15 years ago. You know when the last time I bought new equipment? 15 years ago. Guess what? All that equipment I have, guess what it is? It's assessed by the parish. Not these contractors that come in here and do that. I hire 30, 40 local employees. Patrick has that. Mr. Howard has that. We pay taxes. We've donated money. I'd like to know how many millions of dollars has been raised in my arena on benefits that I charge $0 for that every time we have one, something gets tore up that I have to repair. Every time. And I'm not talking about, I'm not saying what we do, but businesses in the community do that. And this is a stimulus package for us that we need to be able to get. And here we are sitting here with heavy equipment and have to have a staff, a certain size staff, because that's what the DEQ requires. And we haven't made, you can look at the yardage and you can look at the dollars, and I couldn't give a rat's behind how much money I invoice. I worry about what I get to put in my pocket at the end of the day. And you know what it's going to be now? Taking out of my pocket to freaking pay it if we don't get some more debris in there. And it's wrong what they're doing. And I'll tell you right now, Dwayne Connor was the president of the police jury, and Tina Horn was the administrator, and they pretty much told Phillips and Jordan what they pushed them to the limits to make sure that they took care of the locals all over the parish. Tal McCain, myself, Patrick, Mr. Howard.
But the site you're complaining about isn't local, Mr. Wendell, you think?
I'm not worried about that site. I'm worried about them taking the stuff that should be coming to us. I want him to make money.
What would happen, you tell me, what would happen if all the stuff in Grand Lake got hauled to Canada?
We both probably had the same discussion.
Probably, yeah.
Exactly right.
But at the end of the day, we still not solved until we're gonna have a meeting and try to work something out. We can sit here and argue all day long about what's going on. I want you guys to get the stuff in Lower Cameron. We all do. You know, we want the guy in Grand Lake to get his stuff.
And we
We
absolutely
sit here and argue with y'all all day. Let's have a meeting. Let's get Katie, we get the DA, we get you guys, and sit down and say, hey, look, what can we do to get y'all the next 30 days to haul this stuff from Ennisville south to you guys? And the stuff north goes up to him, whatever comes down there.
And we are gonna have, so most likely, y'all, sounds like y'all are interested in private property debris removal. There's gonna be other programs that are gonna come online after the first of the year. And, you know, we'll definitely sit down and take a look at it, but, you know.
I didn't want to haul stuff to Lake Charles, and I told Dr. Wendell, I didn't want to go to that. That's what was aggravating to me. I can't be mad at hauling stuff to this guy in Grand Lake, because he's local.
We have no
We had to
problem.
figure out.
We have zero problem.
Hey, guys, just for a second, remedy, we're gonna have to move on. Are there any other issues, other than the ones that y'all brought up, that y'all wanted to discuss today?
They have all the permits, they're good to go.
And if y'all would, I'd ask y'all to after the meeting, maybe we can talk a little bit after the meeting, and we can set something in one form.
Yes.
Yeah, just, I was
Absolutely.
gonna mention too, that on the casting thing, I mean, I don't know where any more are. We don't, we're gonna have to get the helicopter back, so we're dead in the water now.
You know how many missed?
A lot. Right on.
We can get the cemetery task force
We'll
here to
talk about
provide
that
an
too, but
update.
I see the forum just came in, so maybe we can discuss that with him. All right.
We're estimating 300 to 350 caskets were lost this morning.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, AGA, y'all done? Done?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna move on to temporary payment housing stock.
Yeah, I had a lot of people calling me, going about FEMA housing. Is there FEMA housing guys?
Yep.
Okay. I remember a few months ago, we were told that FEMA was gonna allow some FEMA housing down here, with trailer houses. And
I think that's what they're here.
that's here for,
Yes, sir. If you want to let them present their information to you.
okay.
Okay, I'm Philip Price. I'm just excited for direct housing. That means we're in charge of getting the units installed. As a general rule, FEMA does not install manufactured housing, travel trailers in a flood zone. For this particular disaster, they have made two exceptions, two parishes. Cameron Parish is one, Calcasieu Parish is one. But in doing so, there's regulations and guidelines we got to follow in doing that. So we met with the emergency manager, floodplain manager, 2 months ago, to start talking about this. What it amounts to is on a mobile home, we can put it in a special flood hazard area, but you cannot go above 44 inches base elevation, flood elevation. Travel trailers can only go 18 inches. And I know in times past, we have put them in flood zones, but that changed in 2017. So we've got our guidelines, we sat down and talked with the parish emergency manager and, tried to marry our requirements along with what the parish required. And so that's what we ended up with.
So what?
It was FEMA cutting our power off.
Not yet. That's good.
So, I want to know, or we want to know, what are your guidelines? Not our guidelines, what are your guidelines?
Our guidelines to set in the flood zone is a max of 44 inches base flood elevation. Now, I know that there's been some, that is determined by environmental historical prevention and mitigation. They use maps to make those determinations, floodplain maps. In talking with the floodplain manager, a lot of these places that we may have deemed as infeasible actually have mounds. So what we agreed to do is go back to those sites and do an elevation certificate. It looks like it's going to meet our requirements for elevation. So even though it's infeasible now, that does not mean it may not be feasible a month from now.
So does the ground, so people know, does the ground have to meet the 44 inches? Or does the top of
What
the
you
trailer,
got-
the trailer house floor or whatever?
You got a ground elevation, then you got a base flood elevation, and the difference between those two gives you the base flood elevation.
You can't be over 48 inches.
Can't be over 44 inches.
90% standard now.
Yeah.
I've seen some that are 12 feet.
Well, Mr. Scott, what he mentioned, that's something that we agreed on yesterday, was that any resident that received a denial letter saying that they don't meet the elevation, if they have an existing foundation, like a mound, that they had met the elevation prior to LOR, then please call the police jury office, because we are gonna go out there with the homeowner. We're gonna take the pictures, we're gonna work directly with Mr. Phillip in Region 6 to show that, yes, the base foot elevation of just the ground is here, but with the mound, it might meet the elevation, and they're gonna reconsider, and we'll go through the appeal process with FEMA to try to get them approved. So it's something that we're gonna start advertising today, all throughout next week, on social media, on our website, and we'll even try to get maybe KPLC there. Because that's a lot of the denials that we're getting, people think they should be approved because their hill might be at 14 feet elevation, but the person that did the initial determination, they don't see the hill, they just see what's on the flood map, which might say 2 feet.
They're not even here, they're working virtually.
Right, so we're gonna work through each and every one of those individually to get them approved.
Okay, how about one more question? I see this Linda May sitting right here. She has her house right there, it's Betty. So they can work on their houses, they won't house them by their houses, either a trailer or an RV, or say they need a trailer. They cannot have a trailer put here or an RV.
If they meet that elevation.
And that's the elevation.
Are you talking about for FEMA direct housing or just in someone that's
No,
not going through the
FEMA
FEMA direct
house,
housing?
temporary house and put in.
Right,
So they can't put it right on the ground by their house, because their house is on the hill.
right.
She needs a place to stay while she's fixing her house.
And ours-
So-
Those are the people that get directed to the FEMA trailer parks,
Yeah.
which is at no cost to the resident survivor.
We won't have it in Canterbury, in lower Canterbury, because we won't be able to meet the elevation.
Right.
So that means they have to drive 30 miles to come back and repair their house. That's almost unacceptable. You're telling me that RVs have to meet flood elevation levels?
That's what was the guidance that we received in 2017.
Well, we need to appeal for them for a variance on that for temporary housing. And, we got 1,700 spots in the county.
You know, and I'm here to try to help you the best I can, but, you know, there's certain areas that I've got, I've got all these guidelines to make things work. But I'll do anything I can to help your folks here, because that's what I'm here for.
That was news to me about the RVs.
Right.
That caught me off the
Okay, so say if we got RV spots here, and Ms. Linda May would want to pick one of these RV spots, would FEMA put it in an RV?
If it doesn't meet, base flood elevation, you can't do that. I know that, I've talked with probably 10 parks down here.
But they could probably direct them to a rental FEMA program, and FEMA would pay for them to rent an RV and on those spots, to just give them a stipend
Put their own RV,
Yeah.
put their own RV there.
in there.
Okay, and that's kind of everything that we need to work with. Somebody question, yes, sir.
They came out November the 2nd, measured y'all have, people that are coming out to your place, measuring out for a temporary home, and marking it with paint and everything, giving us hope, and then, you come up here and tell us something totally different.
Well, the thing is, when they do that.
I do have a hill there, but he told me it wasn't necessary. We're gonna put it right here on the ground. He said, where do you want it at? I can put it up there on that hill, or I can put it on the ground right here. And I'm like, well, we might try to build something on the hill, again. We'll put it right here on the ground. We came out and they sprayed it with paint and marked it. November the 2nd this happened, and still haven't heard a word from him. I done called him so many times that he won't even call me back.
Okay.
And he's like, well, talk to the FEMA person you talk to. What FEMA person is there to talk to? There's a different person calls you every time.
That's correct. As far as that goes, the contractor, and that's the one doing the site inspections, he does not know what the base flood elevation.
Well, don't you have someone collecting money for no reason? You're coming out to your property, marking you a spot that you're never going to give you anything. They did it to me, they did it to him, they did it to him, they did it to him, everyone.
That's part of the process. We don't know until somebody comes out there and gets the GPS coordinates and get those elevation certificates, elevation.
When you cross that bridge, we're in a flood zone.
Yesterday, day before yesterday, you actually come mark mine.
No, sir, I'm in Baton Rouge.
Well, the guy looks just like you. You can't mark my trailer out, it doesn't want to get it. Now where am I at?
Well, if you're not eligible.
I'm a single parent with 2 kids.
Right.
That live with me.
If you're not eligible to get it on your property.
And why come mark it?
That's like I'm saying, we do a preliminary site inspection to determine if that site is eligible. They don't know until that paperwork gets back to the office and goes over to EHP and mitigation. And once that determination is made, individual assistants should call you and explain, we cannot put a unit on your place, but we do have, we will have a commercial site for you to go to. So it's not going to be that you're not going to have an option.
45 miles.
It might not be the option you want.
That's not gonna help us to fix our homes. We need to be at our homes.
And like I say, And I'm willing
We
to
gotta
help
drive too
these folks
far.
up here any way I can, get that ruling changed.
That would be a guy like me buying a brand new truck, bringing it outside, telling you, hey, I just give you this truck, it's outside, here's the keys, I'm not giving them to you. You can have the truck, we'll drive it.
I
It's
understand.
not gonna happen. I got the freaking keys.
Okay, I done my elevation, and I had 2 storms, Ike and Rita back, and it didn't even go over my hill. I had the elevation done, I gotta go up 1 more foot. How can that be?
After each disaster, and that is the floodplain makes that determination initial, and that, I don't know how those determinations are made. That's something that I do not do.
The map changed in 2012, we had a map revision.
Right.
It went on for a couple of years, and finally the parish had adopted in 2012, so that's why the elevations went up this summer. Probably all that.
I can see if the water went up my hill,
Yes, ma'am.
but I can't see this. And I would like up in trouble, they didn't even put it, that's 1 foot up.
Well, if they can block it within the 44 inches and meet elevations, then you would qualify.
Yes, she would qualify. She had to move her trailer to put one over her heel.
I would qualify too. I mean, I have a hill, I would qualify, but he told me there was no need.
Okay, that's being said, that's why we have worked with the parish.
Right.
Now there's a second chance for that to be remedied.
Right, if you guys would just give us your name and your address and a phone number, we're gonna see to it that we work you guys through the appeal process and see if we can get you guys approved.
Yeah, but what I'm not understanding though, you're with FEMA, you know when you cross that bridge, where is not high enough? I mean, where's not a flood zone? I mean, if you pull up to a property and they don't have a hill there, you know that, I mean, you're just giving people false hope.
I understand.
It's just their protocol, it's not perfect.
No, they're paying someone for nothing.
Right, I know, but it's not perfect.
I mean, that dude told me he makes $100 every time he marks one of them spots. That's all he's worried about. I mean,
That might be why he doesn't turn around and not mark the property.
We have a question, sir?
What about the residents that's got pylons? Because I was told I wasn't allowed to have a hill because I was on the south side of the highway. I had to have poles. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if I can meet elevation on pylons and he can meet it on a hill, we still getting the same job done, just.
Yeah, but the thing about him, he said that they can't erase them above, what, 44
It
inches?
has to be an engineered foundation, that goes above, I think, 44, 67 inches.
You have to have an engineer stand on your
Do you have
On my pylons.
That's why we had the gentleman come to talk to you guys, because we know as we try to get temporary housing, we're gonna have a lot of questions. So, I mean,
But I would ask that everyone from the parent, like everyone in the audience, if you feel like you were unfairly denied, please meet with us after the meeting and we'll work through your case.
The problem is, you're gonna give me a temporary camper or trailer. It's temporary. So I can build my home, fix my house. I'm not spending $20,000 to $30,000 to put a camper in my yard. Now I don't have the money to fix my house. I got a hill on the side of my house. After so many months, you come take it back, and now it's got a big hill that I paid for.
And you do
I
have
still
the
have a house
option to purchase these. If you qualify for a mobile home, there is something that's, after the 18 months, there is an option to purchase it.
It's, actually, they're gonna start after 30 days, making the determinations if you're in a mobile home.
So
Whether
if
or
you
not
wanted to fix your house, then your house will never get fixed, 'cause you just use all the money for the hill, whatever. If I get a camper, that's where I gotta live in. I can never fix my house.
What were you gonna say? Talk about the auctioneer?
individual assistance makes the determination as to who's eligible for what. If you're eligible for direct housing, which means manufactured housing, then after 30 to 45 days, IA is planning on getting in contact with that survivor and talking with them to see if they are interested in purchasing that unit itself.
Philip, could you speak to, for the audience here and for the jury members, about the efforts we're making with commercial MHU parks and private parks in Cameron Parish, very close here?
The big problem we have in every parish, it seems like, is finding enough room to put mobile homes. We've identified, even though they're in the upper
Cameron Parish, we've identified 3 parks that it looks like that there's a possibility that we can get those parks, and if FEMA will upgrade those parks, put units in to house survivors. So that's something we've been working on this week, and actually we're going at the meeting today, and working on that part of it.
Got a question for you.
Okay.
So if you got one of these parks you're talking about, that property owner has, instead of making it a FEMA park, will FEMA go park a trailer in there and go and take care of the rent and everything for that trailer, instead of having to make this whole park a FEMA park? Then you got people from Mike, nothing against environmental parish or whatever, but you gotta let anybody come into that park from New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Houston.
We look at that park, if we do the upgrades, we're gonna have, it'll be a contracted, arrangement with that park owner for X number of pads. These are our pads. These are what, upgrades are gonna have to be made. As part of that upgrade, contracting officer will negotiate with that park owner. And if he says he wants $800 a pad, well, since we're doing the upgrades, we're just gonna give you $400. And those are just examples, because I don't get into the negotiation part. So what we're doing is helping to upgrade parts of the parish, turning it back into tax basis for the parish, helping that park owner bring his property back online, but also in the meantime, helping survivors put them in the house there.
But can you do it by just putting a single, say, 5 trailers? Somebody, I'll call you, I need a trailer, we'll straight in there, we're gonna put your trailer in that park.
Yeah, that's what we look at. We work with
And
that.
then, Ms. Mock, she needs a trailer, let's go ahead and put a FEMA trailer in this park. Don't go in there and make FEMA a FEMA trailer park.
It's not gonna be a FEMA trailer park, that's what we're trying to stay away from.
That's what we try to live, at least stay away from that. You could be bringing, don't tell who you might be bringing in the parish and in the community.
Well, we have limited resources, and we want to make sure that the people in our parish get the resources that we do have.
The way it works is, whatever your zip code is, that's the person that's going in here. So if your zip code, part of it, whatever the zip code is here, this group of people, this will be the park closest to you, we can put you into. Are you willing to accept that housing option?
What, are you, what's 3, you said 3 sites, 3 parks?
Yes, sir.
And
We've already got, Sonia's. Sonia's, RV mobile home park. We're already putting units in there already.
It's A-Bear, actually.
That's A-Bear, I mean.
Yeah.
A-Bear.
Long Acre is another, and.
The Old Shandy Acres is one.
Okay, I got a question on that.
can't hear none of what y'all just said.
I do have a question on the, you mentioned Sandy Acres. They had tenants in that park. They run them all out, tell them they was cleaning it up. Or we put trailers in there for the tenants?
No,
Or we
sir.
moving other people in?
No, sir, it'll be for the survivors in this parish.
So y'all are actually running out people with the land on the park owner?
We have made no negotiations.
No, that was the landowner that did that.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking. I mean,
Yeah.
If
We
we
would have
find,
people and people out of the park that would live in the park and pay rent.
if we find out, we decided we wanted to go to Joe's mobile home park, Joe's got, say, 60 pads, but 40 of them are occupied. If we see that he starts running people out of those pads, we're done. We're not gonna deal with you. Because we're not here to run somebody else out, to house somebody.
okay.
It's gonna be fair. Somebody else is not gonna suffer because of people.
And when the time is done, are y'all going to remove those trailers?
Those trailers, it depends on what that, site is,
He's gonna buy them for penny on dollar and keep
well, you'll have to find through GSA public auction, so, to do that. But also, they should be off, chance to buy those trailers and put them on a mobile home pad themselves. So if they agree with him to leave them there, and they pay the rent, then,
How
that's
long,
it. For,
how long are they scheduled to do that?
as far as the program itself, it's 18 months from the day of the declaration of the establishment. And I think that's somewhere around February 2021.
Don't they have to get a permit through us?
Sorry?
Don't they have to get a permit through us?
Everything.
FEMA does all that. FEMA's gonna pull the permit and pay for the elevation charge. They handle all of that.
Instead of having a survivor pay for that and do that, that's gonna be part of the process for the installation of the unit.
I know they put a bunch, I live next to you. measures, and they come in, not sure how many they'll put in, but they're fixing very nice with trailers.
Okay, I'll tell the park.
Not quite sure.
And Cameron, Creole, whether you got nothing, Cameron. There, the water comes up there. I got a hill that the water didn't come up, and I can get it on the hill.
Okay, but that's what this process is with Katie. You let her know, and we're gonna look at your site, you know, just one site.
And I know, I already had, Lonnie Lynn survey. Will FEMA pay for that? No. It's gonna be $500.
Not if you've already had it surveyed, no ma'am.
But if they put the trailers and campers up in Grand Lake, I still gotta drive 40 minutes to my house to work on it. I need something close, like on my property.
Well, if we can get,
Because with all the traffic from Kiewit, driving back and forth, an accident can happen.
right, I understand. You know, if we
Are
can
you
get,
looking at any spots south of the Intercoastal? I heard maybe Twin Oaks and Grand Chenier might have been,
I think
a
those
few
are,
spots tagged
those
that
are
were
works, yes.
investigated. They're working on identifying something in Cameron and in Grand Chenier as well.
But I wanna be by my house so that I don't have nobody steal nothing.
Are there gonna be some options for something to work with people like this?
As of right now, no. If we can get these regulations changed, that's possible. But that's something that, you know, we might have help, going through, Region 6, see about getting that done.
You wanna take a note of that, we'll make a request for a variance from Region 6, so we can have RVs, I guess, I'm gonna call it on the ground, for lack of a better word, but,
Yeah, below, basically above, below, basically elevation.
I have a cement slab they can put it on.
And you might be someone that could be funneled through the rental assistance program. Maybe they could pay for you to rent your own RV and then you could put it in your yard. And they would just give you the monthly payment and you would just have to go find an RV to rent and cover the cost. That might be an option for you. Do you want to just stay after the meeting and go through it?
And that is an option. The rental assistance, as far as I've understood, it can be used to pay for the rental of an RV to put on your own property.
And Philip, if you could just talk to those folks who may be infeasible, even after some of these appeals, and then offered to be at one of these commercial sites that we're looking at,
Right.
that the costs, utility costs are covered by FEMA there. Yeah.
They are on the RVs, mobile homes, the survivor is required to pay in most of the parts for the power. We'll go at this contractor, we'll go ahead and get the power account set up in their name, get the unit ready for occupancy, and then once it's occupied and survivor's licensed in, then they will become liable for the power account.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Unless you've got questions.
Any questions, guys?
And if any questions that you come up with, if you can funnel through Katie and then get with Ed, we'll get those answers that day. Best of our board.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Before we review agendas, we've got a couple of comments here. People want to make comments. We'll start off with Sheila Miller. I think this is a reference to number 17 on the agenda for a variance.
Thank you, Mr. President and yours. I'm here on behalf of Cameron Parish School Board. Mr. Lemons was unable to make the meeting. We're concerned, our major concern is that we want you to be careful in issuing variances because we had $70 million worth of damage from the last storm. And we were able to purchase enough insurance. We were one of the few parishes in the state that had enough insurance money to cover our damages. And we don't want to jeopardize our NFIP program. So all I'm asking you today is maybe take some time, look at it. Maybe we can come up with a temporary variance. I don't know if there's such a thing. I know that the school board itself got a variance for our concession stand at South Cameron. I am all for business. I'm all for the grocery stores. I'm all for any and all business. We need those stores. But I'm asking you to work through maybe some options to help our business as well as keeping our MFIP. Thank you.
All right, next person I have is, Bill. Harbaugh? I said it right.
You're not the one.
I'll just have a little comment about the power permits. In the camper, I live up Homewood, but basically I live down here right now. There's not a whole nother, and I do commercial travel here. When we saw the power coming back down the road and people getting turned on, then we hear about having to get a screen tax. I've been down here since '07 and never knew that. You, sir, asked the lady to put out some flyers or signs or something to let the people know. The parish could have done that. They had, what, 3 months without power? You could have done that to informers. We could have worked on these green tax beforehand. Then it wouldn't be a crowded mess like it is in the last 3 weeks to get an inspector to go do 1 or 2 houses or camps, and then the next day go do 2 or 3 more. I got Jeff Davis Electric up there at my house, and I'm proud of them. They put mine on Thanksgiving morning. But we didn't know we had to get permits. The whole group of people down there never knew we had to get permits. So at first it looks like every time the power's gonna go out, we have to get their green permit. Where's the cutoff? So there's a lot of upset people. Everybody wants power nowadays.
I understood at first anything that wasn't in a flood zone, that wasn't going to have to be there from there, or wouldn't have to have a tag.
Here's what happened. Okay, the health department said any place that had storm surge, they would have to go through him. And it's in our ordinance. They gotta go through him. Okay, what was powered up in Grand Lake and all that, they didn't have storm surge, they turned them on if it was safe. If Jeff Davis and Energy said it was safe, they turned them on. Everything down south, whenever the power started coming, the people called, we tell them, you gotta get your help, go to the health department, see what they gotta do, they gotta give you an approval. When you give that approval, you call us on the phone, and that's all you gotta do. What you permitting? I'm permitting for an RV in Little Chenier. And we're not doing 2 or 3 inspections a day. I'm doing 30 to 35 a day. Randy's doing that many, and I hired Weston Blackberry, he's doing that many. And if we need more people, we'll get them, but we're keeping up with inspections daily. Okay, if the people didn't know they needed a green, you need a green tag. We're putting green tags daily. I done did some this morning, I come to the meeting when I leave here for lunch, I'm going to do some more again. So yes, if we need to put that in the paper, Miss Cindy's here. Anybody that needs you need electricity to your home that you're safe, I mean, it's still there. We go on, it looks good, you fix your electrical, we're inspecting for electrical, want to know if it's safe. Did you change your boxes? Did you change your breakers? Did you go underwater? Did you not go underwater? So that's what we're doing. That's the process. So we need to publish that. We can't get it in the paper.
You just need to let the people know beforehand, and you wouldn't be having to do all jammed up, okay? Everybody's working hard. Everybody has problems. If we had 2 hurricanes, 3 people come down through there, and I'm asking them, well, who are you? Well, we're here working for Parish. They give me this letter, assess it, and then they handed me this thing that you're supposed to be able to put on the door. As far as I know, in the whole group down there, I'm the only one got one because I went and asked them who they were. The gentleman here says you need to notify the people. Put up some signs is what he asked you. That's what I'm saying too. It was done all wrong in my book.
Well,
because nobody.
It's our permitting process, and just to be fair to our guys. If there was substantial damage, and that didn't mean it had to be pulled down or had the roof missing. If there was windows busted, they got to cut the power off until somebody tells it it's safe to turn it back on. That's one of the things that they have to go through, that's why they.
I agree with that. Thank God, you know, but I got virtually no wheelchair on the screen, and those people that wouldn't believe that stood up. It's a house prayer without issues. Thank God it did.
Miss Cindy?
I just want to mention that that has been stated in previous police jury meetings and has been reported in the Cameron pilot at least for the last couple of months. And I realize that there's no stores to have the Cameron pilot, but it's available online for free. If anyone wants to keep up with what's going on, we're publishing it every week.
You're not smart enough to use that online.
Well, I realize that. And they were bringing down papers and leaving them at the points of distribution. They were leaving them at the Grand Lake Library. No one was picking them up. There's only so much we can do. But it has been discussed in meetings and it's been published. It's not that they were keeping it a secret. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Ms. Bill. And the last guy is Ray Clement?
Ray Claymont.
Claymont, I'm sorry. Wrong side of the river.
South of the interstate is Claymont. North is Clinton. First of all, I want to thank all of you all for what you are trying to do, at least, to help the people of Cameron Parish. I've been in this parish for 70 years. I don't live in the parish, but my grandfather, Pierre Claymont, some of you all most probably remember him up the end of Little Chenier in the house. I've been coming down here since I was 2 years old from Lafayette. I run the estate. We've got 485 acres there. We've been blessed to have this property in our family, and we intend to keep it if we can. The electrical bill covered, you know. I've been in this parish, like I said, in and out of this parish for 70 years. And I didn't even know you had to have a permit to get power hooked back up. I run the estate. We've got 80-something campsites on the estate. Good people. They want to come back to their camps. If they don't have power, they can't come back. Water was an issue. We finally got that issue with Cameron Parish Water District taken care of. Everybody's working their tails off. I'm not here to beat anybody with a stick. I'm here to thank people for what y'all are trying to do. We just need information on what needs to be done to drive the process forward, to help you guys. Y'all don't need me coming down here with a stick beating on your back. Y'all are beat down enough. Yeah.
Miss Cindy just said that it's in the pilot.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, we can't go eat individual.
But, and I understand.
This is what you gotta do.
I understand exactly
Put
what
it out
you're
there as
saying.
best we can.
And what I'm gonna suggest is y'all keep doing what you're doing. We have water issues. We have a ditch that runs down the south side of the ridge. It's clogged up. I've been talking with Cameron Parish, OEP, Danny Laverne. He's kind of been my contact in and out of here, trying not to bother you guys and the offices here, because heaven forbid, the service is bad enough. Y'all don't need somebody just querying. But I've asked, when do they think they're gonna come down and clean the ditch out? It's a small canal. It used to be a drainage when I was a kid. I could put a P road through it. Now,
The one up behind the ridge.
yes, south of the ridge, when you come into the landing at the L.C. Claymont house, where Pierre lived, at the dock, you can turn right and follow it, and you could go all the way through
How about Miss Gospar's?
Miss Gospar's house, correct.
Before killing him, dug that, cleaned it out a long time ago.
Right, well, it's in severe need because all of the flotsam that came in, we had a ton of flotsam that ended up on the ridge, as somebody said, from the Miller property. All that got washed in. So we're trying to get all of that cleaned up. And I've asked, and I haven't heard from anybody yet with the people who are concerned with cleaning that. I guess that's the water board or whoever. Drainage board.
Drainage canal, is it actually considered a drainage canal?
It is.
If it's on the map of the drainage board, it will get cleaned when they can get there.
Right, and that's my question. I called and I haven't got a response from anybody. And I'm giving you guys time because it's an issue with what's the priority. Hey, we need to take care of flooding issues in people's houses. I understand that. So I'm just asking somebody to kind of look at that issue because we'd like to try and get that canal cleaned out to allow the water to drain off the property.
I think that's in Mr. Thomas' district.
Now, I'll give them the drainage district and see if that's a drainage canal.
Right.
If it's a drainage canal, we'll have the right to go in there and clean it. But
Okay.
if it's just an old navigational ditch, then it throws it out of the parish's realm of, they
Okay.
don't spend money on it.
All right,
But I will find that out.
okay. And will you contact me back? Or
Yeah, I'll get with you after the meeting.
Okay, and the last thing is road, the road. We have got asphalt on that 13-mile stretch from 27 to the Mermentau River is roughly 13 miles, maybe 14 if you count behind the gate. Most probably 7 to 8 miles of that road is asphalt now. I have been working on asking to get the rest of it asphalted, which would mean having to upgrade the road the remainder of the 4 or 5 miles to the back to get it asphalt, so that you all don't have to send a grader down there regularly to get the potholes squared away. I know there's a cost involved in sending a grader down there to just grade that portion of the road. And y'all are doing it regularly, because I go down there regularly, and the road is fairly passable. With the storms, I understand the problem. I'm not fussing about the road right now, but I'm asking for you guys in open meeting today, because I've talked to different people about road construction, about trying to get that road asphalted.
Before we go any further, that's Thomas's district, but we all represent the parish. Well, we just got a notice a while ago, did you hear, 17.5 million so far. And we gotta come up with 25% of that.
I understand.
So, looks like Blacktop Road's gonna be out of project for a
Well,
while.
what I'm saying is, I'm just knocking on the door again, because I've been knocking on the door now for 10 years, or maybe 15. And the people before me, most probably some of you all remember Gabe Nunez, attorney from Sulphur. He is the majority owner of our property down here. We're an undivided estate, and he owns a large portion of it. He has been trying to get the rest of the road done, and I have taken over as the head of the committee that runs the property. And again, I thank you all for what y'all are doing. Time's gotten long here today. You guys got things to do. I want to thank y'all again for what y'all are trying to do. I'm asking y'all to consider the upgrades to the road, because we still are having water issues with water coming over the road in the back.
It'd have to go.
That's what I'm saying. To get it asphalted, before you would do that, you're gonna have to get the elevations squared away. Y'all have put limestone on the road in the really bad areas now.
The horseshoe still elevated? The horseshoe still real elevated?
Yeah, it was elevated, and that
We did that a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, and there was a question at the time when it was done that y'all were gonna put some pipes under the road to allow the water to communicate to the south to help the marsh. Those pipes were never put in. And I realize that there are people south that run cattle in that area. That's becoming less and less of an issue. It would be something that would be helpful to the health of the marsh to get that water back across and help, because there are times when the actual ponds and lakes are dry during the summer because there is no communication from the north. So again, thank y'all, and I appreciate what y'all are trying to do for the parish and for the people here. You know, we've lost a lot of people here since '57, and it's not a happy occasion that we're all meeting here. So thank y'all again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Benoit.
I'll get with you after the meeting, get you my phone number.
All right, the last item, to review agendas. On number 6C, Blue Marlin Offshore Report. We've got a letter of opposition. I think I forwarded that to y'all. I don't see any issues with it. They're talking about economic benefit to the parish being nil. Well, even if it was going to a port, it's not going to the port county. So I don't see it has any economic effect on us environmentally. If we're going to start looking at environmental issues as far as oil and gas pipelines, then we might as well shut the parish down. So I don't have any issues with it. I just want to make sure that you're all aware of that, that letter and that gets this forward. They were, it's going to be an all offshore loading. So we talk about economic benefit to the parish, but it does come to the parish. We do get some money from taxes. Okay. Even if they put it on and load it on a ship, then I can load it down.
Can we talk about the number 17 with Miles, about the variance for counties? If we got being people that could answer any questions. I mean, all the states in here is going to variance. What does he want a variance for, Miles?
You want the variance to relocate his grocery store below base flood elevation? There you go. The variance request is for, I think it's, that's the wrong thing. That's good. I brought this with me somewhere, y'all. We're requesting a variance for return to grocery store and deli to Lower Cameron Parish, availability of a contractor, access to the facility for customers of all ages, access for equipment and grocery deliveries with lack of available space for a ramp. That's his variance request. And it's a 6.8, I want to say, difference to the elevations on that slab that's there.
Just one of the things, he's just trying to put his business back. One of the things I have a problem with is that when they make us build these stores or business to base flood elevation, we do it, okay? A storm comes, category 5, we're supposed to build to a cat 1. A cat 5 takes it. Oh, well now you gotta go up another 6 foot. Is it his problem that he has to go up those 6 foot when the parish adopts those rules? It's not him. He was at base flood elevation at the time. I don't see why the man can't put the store back and get people down here. You have food, water, have fuel, instead of driving all the way to Lake Charles. I mean, I really have a problem with people putting their thumb on everything where you can't rebuild your community.
That's right.
Yeah, what about us? We gonna be living in Lake Charles.
I agree, man. I agree, 100%.
If I gotta go up, he's gotta go up.
Well, when you can't buy food, you gotta go out to Lake Charles to get it.
I'm fine with that. I'll be living up there anyway, Mr. Thomas.
I'm just.
My parents own a business in Grand Engineer, and they built above what they needed to.
They
So
own
when you
Wreath.
got official word valued their business is 50% damage, so they could fix it above what they needed to be.
Right.
So it can be fixed. So if you build where you're supposed to be, I know that John's place, was below where it needed to be because it was already left over after Rita. But it is what it is. My dad spent the money to put
Every
it where he needed
situation
to.
is not the same. I mean, over there where they had, they own the ridge, they had to come up 3 or 4 feet. John's already up 4 feet, he's gotta come up another 6 feet. You know, so it's tough to get groceries in, it's tough for an elderly person to get up there and get in. I mean, there's a lot of things. You know, they don't want us to give a variance to help a business come back that can help the whole community, but it was all right to give a variance for a school to have a concession stand on the ground. It's all right to give PHI one to go put a helicopter in. It's all right to let the post office come over here and sit on the ground, flat on the ground, you know, because that's a government deal, they can do it.
No, we still checking on that, Thomas, just to make sure.
Huh?
With the DA's checking on that, because I don't think they exempt from elevations, they exempt from permitting and inspection, but
Well, everybody's on John, but for getting out there and trying to get started, make things happen. They didn't ask nobody, they just come put it on the ground and did it, but it's okay so far. I ain't heard nothing about it till I brought it up today. You know?
Is there such thing as a
I just like to see the man be able to get a variance.
Thomas? Is there such thing as a temporary variance where he would have some
Well,
time?
how do you spend $250,000 for a temporary, and in 6 months they tell you you got to tear it down and go up? I mean, that's not feasible. You know, you really can't do that. You either got to be able to build it or not.
Let me ask a question, on the variance. If PHI got a variance, does that mean they got to buy flood insurance?
PHI got a variance for their helicopter maintenance facility. It was just the maintenance board of the offices and all that made elevations, but it was where they brought the helicopters in to actually work on them.
Were those born able to get flood insurance, what I'm asking?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that's the same thing, him, he may not be able to get flood insurance. If we give him a variance and it's below, the level, he would be able to get flood insurance, am I correct with that?
I'm glad he's aware of that.
No, yeah, he's aware. I don't think you can get any kind of aid or.
Not national flood, he might be able to buy it from Lloyd's of London or somebody, but he's gonna pay some money.
That's what I'm saying.
You can get it, but you can.
Does that affect us in our flood insurance program?
It
We
could.
can't get flood insurance.
Yes, it could affect the whole parish.
13, 16, I mean, the same thing, they don't get flood insurance, does that affect us?
Yeah.
If you be doing these variances after a disaster, yes, we had a big one. You start issuing variances, I done reached out to FEMA and asked them about a grocery store, nobody in particular, grocery store in Lower Cameron Parish. Okay, got a reply, that's not a variance for a grocery store is not one that you can issue. Okay, and I said, what if we start, what if we do give the variance and and we might have to give another one, and you have to give another, what are the effects, okay? And the effects is, they're gonna monitor, they're gonna see what we're doing, we're gonna bring them into compliance, they're gonna put us on, there's this possibility to be put on probation, after probation and a suspension. That takes away, that's for the whole parish, not just one business, or one person, or one, that's the whole parish.
Throughout the parish, we had, when the storm hit, we had, what, 120 violations?
No. I mean,
I mean, we had.
you asked me that earlier, and it ain't no way we had 120 violations, we were probably working on 15 or 20.
Correct, we cited around that number, but the properties, a lot of the properties got into compliance.
Got in compliance with 13, 16 for the judge.
We had 13 properties identified at 13, 16.
See, so giving a 13, 16 or giving a variance is virtually the same thing. Just the judge gives it or we give it. You know, I mean, so.
I know this.
Well, that's a different practice too, I'm sorry, Mr. Lee, but that's a practice that was already happening in Cameron. Okay, and it was being monitored real hard too, because Washington DC was even saying, why are y'all giving so many 13, 16? I mean, I'm just saying, we were being monitored on that too.
But it's not like you're gonna give one and then you're going to the whole parish is gonna lose all their insurance. That's not true. It's not true at all. They warn you, or they might say that, but it's never happened. Can you recall of any parish in the state ever losing their insurance? Huh?
They're on probation for
Well,
about
I
7
mean,
years.
yeah, they could put you on probation, but I mean, I don't
That's
know.
how I got my job.
I
So
don't know
what
how
are you
many.
gonna say when the what are you gonna say when the next person steps up and say, I need variance?
Well, it depends what it is. It's case by case, just like the judge did.
It's not gonna be case by case.
Yeah, it is.
You're gonna have, I have several of them, I have a couple of them.
Let me tell you something. If there was 3 stores, I wouldn't even be asking. If there was 2 stores or 1 store, but there needs to be a store in each community. Each community, if you don't have a business and you don't have a store, pull up the Creole sign, there's no more town. There's nothing there.
Right.
You know? So I
If you
mean,
get one variance, you have to do them all.
you don't have to. We ain't done it for 20 years. We give what need to be done. We have to give it to everybody.
You got stores and cars that want to build over there, who wants to rent a home or?
Oh, man, you got Curtis right there, he's got to build.
I still think, but he didn't want to.
What about the Key Wind trailers down the Jetty Road? They all got trailers.
Temporary housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got variances.
You know, the government's asking us for a variance right now to allow to put trailers on the ground, but we can't ask them for one. You know, come on.
I don't know if we open it up, is where it's gonna stop. That's the issue I have. It's not that I don't want to build a store grill, that's obviously not. But my concern is that if we issue one, how are we gonna justify the next or the next 10?
But if you got a store there, then we don't need to issue another one for another store, because we got one.
That's a
Well,
monopoly.
how fair is that?
Well, I mean, it's whoever wants to get out there and spend the money first, to help the community get going.
First come, first served?
Yeah, that's what we did with the food trucks. First come, first served. First one come in there and got them. You know, that's okay.
I would like to mention this. Okay, so we all need to be mindful that we will have these disasters. People have already lost friends, businesses, from Rita, from Ida. They have reconstructed according to our minimum standards of the NFIP program. That's what I am hired to do, and that's what I will continue to do. And I'm standing before you today for one individual to affect this entire parish for however you vote. I just want you to understand that.
Okay, or you guarantee it's gonna affect the entire parish?
I can't guarantee
Okay.
that, but it's in the,
It's
in the
gonna-
federal
they're gonna look at it.
regulation. It's in the federal regulation.
And it's also in the federal legislation that it's up to this jury at the end to warrant that if we feel it, we need it. That's in there.
You are the deciding
Don't
body.
say that all the
That's
time.
correct. You are the deciding body.
We just here to give y'all guidance and tell y'all what's
But
what.
tell the whole story, Miles.
Okay.
Tell it, it's up to us if we want to.
Yes, it is. We talked about that at the last meeting. It is. It's the
Put
jury,
everything out
it's y'all's ordinance.
Mhm.
That y'all adopted and y'all change it whenever y'all need
We
to.
expect nothing else from y'all but to tell us what's could or could not happen if we make a variance.
I'll provide
And
that
I
and
think
talk to
you
them.
did, and you did
And that's
your
why you
job
can read the
well.
book yourself.
So
And
now
figure it out
I
then.
believe it's up to the jury
It's up to the
to
jury to make the
decide
decision.
whether they're gonna issue variances. I think you've been very clear, go beyond that permitting, that bring to us what could or could not happen. So let's
And if I may say
not
something,
go to punching at our staff. I think our staff has done their job bringing it.
and this is something, if you don't mind me saying, this is a variance that we just received, Tuesday morning. It was after we submitted to the Cameron pilot, the agenda topic. So it's very new, we're just really getting a grasp on what he's requesting. I think maybe it'd be a good time for us to just think about tabling the issue. Give us a few weeks to explore some options and present different options to see if we can get him compliant without a variance versus a variance. It's just something that's an option.
Can we, is there a way to get help for a business to elevate like homes?
Yes, there are ample grant opportunities out there with Southwest Alliance. They received large donations from Cameron LNG, Chenier, and other entities. This is something that we perhaps could work with him and apply for grant funding to either get him elevated or maybe look at some out-of-the-box different solutions to maybe he could put everything mobile, still meet that elevation requirement and make it mobilized, or elevate just that particular part and still utilize the part of the store that he already has. There's a lot of different moving factors out there that we haven't really explored yet, and I'd like to take the opportunity to do that with Mr. John and see what we could take the next few weeks, so meet with the fire marshal, explore these grant opportunities and see, and then maybe come back and discuss it in January.
So would there be a way to verify that he could get monies to elevate, and if we could get that, then he should be able to go ahead and the store will be elevated once
Right, we may,
it's there.
exactly, we may be able to get him in compliance without a variance, but we are gonna need a few weeks to explore all those different avenues and resources.
Yes, ma'am.
And just so y'all know, every flood policy that's come through that we're getting paid on, or any money that's being looked at, every one of those is a proof of loss, and it's signed off on by FEMA before it's sent to us. So they are looking at every one of our flood policies.
What do you mean proof of loss? You get that on every house too?
This is for your flood. This is proof, like FEMA has to okay that proof of loss before we get paid from the insurance.
That's on any flood policy that you have.
Yes, sir, but I'm just saying, they are looking at all the municipalities.
Mom, I know me and you talked about this, that, is there any way that you can pin down FEMA and get them to give us something right, saying if we could give a variance to it, then there could be no repercussions to our parents? Even if we gotta fly to Washington, we'll talk to the head guy.
I don't think we'll get anything that's gonna say there won't be no repercussions. What I got, there is a repercussion.
There will be repercussions.
And that's been forwarded to me.
Yeah, the response he got was
Could
just
be.
the opposite.
Yeah.
Could be, not repercussion, could be.
But we could request it. That would be a legitimate question if we push it in more. We can't get other
One
funding.
business
Well, I mean, I know
versus
Miles business with
everybody's
my phone,
flood insurance,
but
I'm not.
maybe send him up to Washington, but he can't.
But you're not able to.
I am gonna open mine. I do got an open
You ain't
mind,
going with
and I do believe you need a storage camera and Creole.
Well, then help get it, don't try to fight everything.
Elevate, the man needs to not.
Well, then you gonna pay for it, because he was elevated when he started, and then he had a storm come, and the board up here, the people that was here, allowed it to go up another 3 foot. Is that his fault? Let the parish pay go up then. That's the way I feel about it, because he had it the first time.
Well, he had it, but he got the same thing as every one of these
That's
house
right, that's right. That's why we shouldn't allow people to come in here and say, well, here's the new flood program, you're either gonna do it or else. That's bullshit.
If we allow the water level to keep rising in Cameron Parish, and not very near the coast, but we'll all be in a flood zone.
That's the good part that's in that water here. It's not, no people.
She said the good Lord said the water area.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it is-
After Hurricane Rita, I was one of the first shrimp back to Cameron. Had the head of FEMA, head of the National Guard, everybody come to my boat. I was the first boat here. I was trapping because I lost everything. Man said on my rally, he said, Mr. Dyson, what would you do if you was in my shoes? I said, I'd get the old people back, because the young people ain't coming back, the old people don't come back. He said, well, I'm telling you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give every household in Cameron Parish $100,000, $150,000 to rebuild. Did I get it? No. Did you get it? No. Him no, him no. None of the fishing family got it. Nobody. Now what happened to all this money? The guy had the FEMA come on my shrimp boat after Hurricane Rita, sitting on the deck of my boat.
And I can believe that, Philip, because in
He told me
Mississippi,
that.
that's exactly what they did. But the bureaucrat in Louisiana,
Let
bullshit
me
over
tell you what
there,
else
ended up
happened.
sucking up all the money.
After Hurricane Ike, I bought a house from the police jury, from some Miles Amen, somebody. It come from the Cameron Police Jury building by the courthouse. Was bought with FEMA's money. It was sold in auction. I bought one, my son bought one. Went through the hurricane, made it fine. Supposed to be a zone 3, right? So he tells me in court that my house ain't a zone 3. Well, I don't know what it is. They bought it with FEMA's money. It should be a zone 3. And now you gonna tell me people need, I mean, you ain't gonna have nobody down there unless you get a grocery store and a gas station there. We gotta drive 15 miles. Just like the people working on their houses. I worked on a house right after the Lord. I bought my sister's house by the Baptist church. I'm in the yard putting debris on the road. I've been listening to this all day long. I walked to the road, the guy in the truck picked his stuff up, and I walked over there and I said, where you hauling this debris at? He said, I'm hauling the Grand Lake. 2 weeks ago. I said, you gonna haul this stuff all the way to Grand Lake? From the Baptist church in Cameron right here? Right here on School Street, I live on 109 School now. They gonna haul debris from 109 School Street, right there by the Baptist Church, all the way to Grand Lake. When you got local people, got 3 sites below the intercoastal. Now, come on, man, something ain't right here. Somebody need to wake up.
Same with Highland Street. I asked him why he wasn't going to Wendell. That's why I asked if they were dumping here. He said, we can't go to Wendell.
That's good. I think we're getting back on a different subject.
Well, I'm just
We're
saying.
getting back to the.
That's what was
We need a
said.
grocery store, we need gas station, we tired of driving 50 miles. I go to the store here, there's so many people work at this plant. We cannot buy a loaf of bread. If y'all live on Lake Charles, won't y'all bring me some bread? We tired of driving 50 miles for a loaf of bread. Let this man put a store back where we can buy some groceries there. I mean, that's the way I feel.
If Kiewit wanted a store, you'd have a store.
Yeah, you would. You'd have it tomorrow.
All right, guys, any other questions on 17? All right, any other questions on the agenda?
Man, show me this, my boy, I'm gonna fix it
All
out.
right.